Hey guys, it's Bryn Brown here. And what I want to talk to you about today quickly is how to take time off as an entrepreneur. I'm on the heels of a maternity leave that's pushing about 4 months now. I'm slowly coming back, but I'm getting a lot of questions like, how did you do that? How were you able to walk away from your business for that long? And the truth is, there are a few different ways that that can happen. But what I know for sure is that as entrepreneurs, it's so easy to feel like you can't take time off. And that's just not true. And it really isn't good for you to not take some time for yourself, whether that's short bursts or extended periods. It's totally up to you and your lifestyle. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about how I was able to do that in my business. I actually have a virtual background on right now because I've had to completely move my office and this whole maternity leave that's just the last thing on my mind. So it's not put together yet. Like I said, I'm easing back in, but I have the flexibility to do that. So how can you do that as an entrepreneur too? Okay, so first thing first, you got to schedule it, right? You got to know when you're going to take time off. Now, there can be room for spontaneity. We'll talk about the financial piece of that in a few minutes. But I really want to encourage you to schedule your time off. Now, ideally, you would be doing this when you're doing your annual business planning or perhaps biannual or even quarterly, but thinking about the seasons of your business. Is there a busy season? Is there a slow season? When does it make more sense? Maybe when will it be easier business wise to take time off? But also think about when it's really important to you to take time off. The holidays is a big one, right? A lot of times people are taking off around the holidays. And so I want you to be thinking about, especially as we go into a new year, right? Or depending on when you're watching this, into the next quarter or the next half of the year or the next month, start thinking about when you want to take time off and for how long. I do encourage you to have something scheduled, even if you're just plugging in for your major holidays that you observe. Do plan to take some time off. So now we know that it's coming, right? So we can set some expectations for actually taking that time off. And you can plan how you want to work with your clients and so on and so forth. So we'll touch on that in a minute as well. The second piece is now we have to afford it. Okay, so now we've got this time, that we're planning to take off. For me, it was maternity leave. I had roughly 9 months to plan that, right? A little less because I wanted to ease into having a baby. And this is the second time I've done it. So, I have two kids now, and my maternity leave has looked slightly different each time. But the first time was planned for 2 months, ended up taking 3 months. This time I planned for 3 months, ended up taking 4 months. So how was I able to do that without everything crashing down? Well, the first time I did this, I was earlier in my business, which meant that I didn't have as much support in terms of people helping me or being able to hire things out. I just didn't have the revenue for that. So I relied on a savings plan in order to make it happen. This time, I'm going to give you the details. Hang on one second. This time, it was a combination of strategies, financial strategies that I utilized because I have a little bit more of a robust business. I have more experience under my belt, and I have the ability to hire out. So though that made it look a little bit different. And so here's how I did that using a savings plan. Okay, this is not the only way that you can afford to take time off. And I'm talking about extended periods. It's much easier if we're talking about a week or 2 week vacation. Okay, but when you're getting into months, this is how this is my experience with it and what I would recommend for you. So the savings plan is essentially, that you have a vacation coming up. You know that you have time off that you're planning for. And so we can work backwards from our timeline in our annual plan, ideally, but you can work backward with whatever time frame you have and begin to build in savings. So every time you have profit come into your business, we can take a portion of that and put it into a special savings account. I recommend all entrepreneurs have a savings account for emergencies anyway, just like it's recommended for your personal finance that you would want to have, 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses saved. I know that can be hard for some people. And I know if you're early in your business, it feels especially hard, but we want to start chipping away at that savings and just kind of tucking some money, setting it aside so that it's available to you. So how much do you need to save? So we want to look at the amount of time that you're planning to take off and understand how much money you need to keep both the business running and yourself, right? Your pay, your salary going during that time. So, if you are in a financial situation where you don't have to pay yourself, then that just makes it a little bit less. But we want to, at a very minimum, be able to pay your business expenses throughout the time that you're gone. Now you can get strategic and you can go in and you can turn on, if you're taking an extended period like I did, I unsubscribed or turned off the subscriptions to certain platforms that I was using that I wouldn't need, right? Or I didn't need the upgraded, Zoom, for example, because I'm not using as much Zoom because I wasn't doing client calls or what have you. So there are ways that you can cut your expenses so you can review those, but you need to know for the time that you're gone how much money you need to make in order to pay your expenses. So if you have, say, it's $500 a month to run your business and you're going to be gone for 1 week, we want to take, divide 500 by 4. And so you have $125 that you'll want to plan for that week. Okay. This is just going to make it easier. Then we want to think about financially, how do you lead into that, right? So now you have, before I forget, so not just your expenses, but how much do you want to pay yourself? So if you have a certain amount of money that you're paying for your owner's draw into your personal account, or a minimum amount that you need to be making while you're out, that needs to go into the savings as well. So let's say that you plan to take 2 weeks off for a vacation and you normally have $500 in business expenses and you pay yourself $3,000 a month, right? So now we have half the month gone. So we're going to divide those by 2. So instead of $500, you want to save $250 for your business expenses. And instead of paying yourself $1,500 or $3,000, you want to save $1,500, right? So now you're at $1,750. So in the months leading up to that vacation, you can tuck away $1,750 in order for you to put back into your business when you're not working. That way you don't have to do any revenue generating activities. Now we're talking about affording a vacation, right? Or affording time off in your business. So this is just the financial piece of it, right? So we also want to be thinking, okay, how do I want to set up this time off strategically so that I am set up for success in as many ways as possible? So one thing that you could potentially do is do a launch or two, have some more robust or bigger programs, or run a launch of some kind leading up into that time off. So let's say you're taking time off in September, for example, and you want to take a vacation for 2 weeks. It's just an easy thing to say. So you're saving the money, you know how much money that you need to have set aside for that. Maybe you want to increase it a little bit because you want to make some money for the vacation to have spending money. That's perfect. It's whatever you know that you need to have in order for you to take time off and totally be unplugged, okay? To not have to work, to not have to show up and spend your time in exchange for money. So what we want to do is think, okay, can I launch something, right? This could be a live event. This could be like a live in-person one-to-one, right? You do a big push for sales, essentially, leading into this. This could be something that you set up payment plans that run through the duration of your vacation so that it's covered. So you're not actually seeing any loss in income whatsoever. And that's actually my favorite way to do things, but I like to have the savings there to support me as well. It allows me to be more flexible. The savings is also great if you're a little bit more spontaneous and you like to just be able to take time off. Then it just becomes a matter of navigating your programs. So payment plans are a really beautiful way to do that as well. And then also creating funnels. Funnels could be a really nice financial way, right, to approach taking time off. So if you have funnels in place where you are selling a product or a service and people can sign up and pay for it, and that funnel can be implemented while you're gone, right? If we can automate that or delegate that in some way, then you're going to be able to make money while you're out. Now, the first time that I went on maternity leave for 2 extended to 3 months, I relied solely on the savings plan and I saved that money. Every launch I did, every time I had extra profit, I was taking the bare minimum leading up to that. Again, my business wasn't as lucrative or profitable then as it is now. So I was able to do that. And then I sort of just shut things down. This time, again, I sort of shut things down, though I did hire an agency to help me with some things, more on that in a sec. But I utilized all of these methods. So I had payment plans running, I had funnels running for passive income, and I had a savings plan implemented to help me through so that everything was covered. And I didn't have to worry about how much time I actually took off. Again, I planned for 3 months, but it's been about 4, and I'm able to ease back in. I don't have to come out full on and scramble for cash because I had this all set aside. So those are some really great ways to financially afford taking time off. You had it in your schedule, right? You planned for it. It's coming up, or at least you have a savings plan in place and the business finances so that you can be more spontaneous and take time off. And then the third thing, right? So you've got it scheduled. Now you know how you're going to afford it. And then the third thing is actually doing it, right? So actually taking time off and not checking in. Now, it kind of depends on your business and how far into it you are and how much support you can get. For me, I mentioned that I hired an agency. The agency's job this maternity leave, this time off, was solely to build my audience and implement my funnels. So they were sharing that content, and it made it really easy so that I only had one contact person that I would check in with every 2 weeks just to get an update. And I could see things were rolling. I could see things were happening. I could keep an eye on it just to make sure that it fit what I felt I wanted to be shared under my brand. And then, and that was it. That's all I had to do. That was all I needed to do. Even though I had plans to email once a week while I was out, and that didn't actually happen, it's okay. My business didn't fall apart. My audience was still growing. My list was still growing. My community was still growing. And I didn't really have to do anything. That a part of the funnels is the nurture piece, right? So that was in place. And then I had savings that were covering my business expenses, including my pay. So that was really, really nice. So it was just a matter of making it happen and then relaxing into being away from my business. Now, if you're not trying to take a maternity leave, if you don't need to take months and months off, but you want to take time off here and there, you want to be a little bit more spontaneous. It is a little bit easier if you can plan in advance, but you can still make it happen as long as you're willing to set the expectations and then honor your boundaries. So if you say you're going to take off Fridays through the summer, then you need to let people know how that works. Let people know how they can get support if they need you during that day off, for example, or your week off or your month off. And you have that plan in place, and then you need to hold to it. So this might look like having an assistant field even a temporary VA, just field all of the incoming emails. That might mean that you simply don't reply. Okay. An out of office responder. And I've seen this a lot actually with businesses now, especially since COVID, where they're taking time off 1 day a week, Fridays, they see that often. And it's simply an automatic responder that just says, hey, we're out of the office. We'll get back to you on Monday. And if you're able to hold those boundaries within yourself, if you appropriately set those expectations and let people know, and you hold to those boundaries, you will be surprised at the minimal reaction that you get, that people just honor it. And so I can also say too, within that, there is a little bit of juggling the client. So if you're taking a vacation and you have active clients, private clients, for example, it's a matter of deciding, one, do you want to work during your time off, right? Some people feel okay with that. And if that's you, great. If you feel like you have to, but you don't want to, I really encourage you to think about how to structure this and to utilize some of these tips because you really do need that time off, and you're going to come back better, right? More refreshed, more relaxed, more inspired. You're going to come back better when you actually truly take the time off, and you're not going to feel frustrated or resentful or bitter coming back or angry about your business because you didn't actually get to rest. I see this with my husband, who is sort of in a position where even when they're taking vacation, he's still fielding a lot of calls and putting out fires. So having a person to delegate that to can be really, really helpful. Again, even if it's just a temporary person that you can trust to sort of manage this, and then they can come to you if there are things that are really, really important that need to be addressed. Okay. So my husband, for example, he's more creative. He's in building. And so he can have someone that comes to him that's fielding all the calls, that comes to him and say, okay, this is actually important. We actually need your attention on this. Can you respond to this email? Can you call this person? For a lot of creatives, it's really not that time sensitive. Maybe you set the expectation when you take on a project that there's going to be a pause in the middle because you already had this pre-planned time off, right? Or you already take Fridays off. So it's within the contract, it's within the expectations that you're setting all along the way. Or if it's, something unexpected, you have a medical situation and you need to take time off, it's a matter of just setting those expectations with clients. Okay, your payments pause, we're going to prorate you. It's going to look like this. But if you do feel the desire to work and that feels really good to you, you can continue your clients through your vacation or through your time off if you wish, for sure. And I've seen that be done, and it makes people really happy, and it helps them feel connected to their business and to their clients while they're relaxing. And it can actually help in some ways in terms of your marketing. It's like, I'm on vacation on this beach and I'm taking client calls from this beach vacation, and because I want to, not because I have to, or whatever the case is. So you can use that in your marketing as well. Similarly, you can also do the same thing if you are taking time off and you're genuinely checked out, right? And you just want to share on social media, and you can even share it after you get back. You don't have to share it even during your time off if you don't want to. Everybody's a little bit different. And you may not know until you actually begin to get in the habit of taking time off. Like I said, with my first maternity leave, I planned 2 months. I thought for sure I would be ready to come back and have adult conversations and be in my business and be strategizing and be working. And I just wasn't. I needed a little bit more time. And I felt the same way this time as well. So, so honor that within yourself. I mean, it's important that you give you what you need when you need it. So think about that as you're scheduling it. So we're scheduling it. We are setting our finances up according to how much time we want to take off and how we want to do it. We are getting strategic about the ways that we're affording it. So what do the finances look like? Are we taking payment plans? Do we have funnels? You might not have them set if you're early on in your business. Are you saving appropriately for that time off? And do you really accurately know how much money you need in order to take the time off? And then the third thing is you're just making it happen. And that has to do with boundaries and setting expectations and communicating clearly with your clients and the people who are going to be reaching out to you as far in advance as you possibly can. And then honoring those boundaries throughout. Okay. The amazing thing about having a business, in my opinion, is that you can pick it up when you have the right systems in place. You can pick it up and set it aside as you see fit in a lot of ways. And that's not necessarily the message that you're going to get from a lot of people. Most coaches, most entrepreneurs, most professionals are going to tell you, you need to be consistent. You need to keep going with it. You have to always be there. You have to hustle. And that's just not true. And I've seen that for myself. And if it's true for me, I know it could be true for you as well. So every business is different. I know there's a lot of variables in there. If you have questions, drop a comment, shoot me an email, let me know. And I'm happy to answer based on your unique situation. But I hope this has been helpful. And I hope you get the time off that you are craving. Okay, bye for now.